So this is weird. A lot more people heard the new Kanye West Kid Cudi album that just came out the same week that Dave Matthews Band released Come Tomorrow, yet Dave Matthews Band goes to #1 on the charts. Let's get into exactly how and why we got into this situation. And by the way, full disclosure, I'm a massive Dave Matthews Band fan. Massive. Huge. Gigantic. I like Kanye. I like Kid Cudi. I couldn't pick Kid Cudi out of a lineup, to be honest with you. I don't know really. I know him, but not really that much. I do love Kanye. Gold Digger, come on. One of the greatest tunes ever. One of the best. But this is more of a story of how we are manipulating things and complicating things. And we've gotten so to the point with technology where I really don't even know what's right and what's not. I really don't. It's kind of a shrug your shoulders, hands up in the air sort of situation. And I'm okay with that. I'm not freaking out. This is not one of those, it's the end of the world. Streaming, millennials, everything's coming to a close. Why can't things be like it was when we were crying? I'm not one of these people. It's fine. It's good. It's just, it's a little ambiguous right now. So let's go down to exactly what happened. Dave Matthews Band and Kanye put out a project same exact week. The Kanye Kid Cudi project is called Kids See Ghosts. They end up with 10 times the amount of streams that the Dave Matthews Band has. But the Dave Matthews Band sold 3 times as many copies of the full album. So who deserves to be #1? Well, Dave Matthews Band gets the official thing. They're officially #1 on the Billboard charts for this week. But the interesting thing is the industry literally goes in the other direction where streaming numbers are kind of taken more seriously. So here's where we're at. Come Tomorrow opened up at #1 with 285,000 copies and 9.4 million streams. Not bad. But when you put it into context, Kanye West and Kid Cudi, or even Post Malone, who came in at #3, I believe, average around 9.4 million streams a day. A day. That's crazy. According to the formula that Nielsen and Billboard use to compile chart positions, album sales count far more than a stream. So a big seller can easily top a big streamer. This is true. But like I said, industry respect, endorsement deals and all these other things that sort of make an artist these days, streaming is more respected. Not that anybody needs an endorsement to be a good artist. I get the argument, but I'm just saying, in the current world we live in, when I get, industry info, it doesn't necessarily say sales anymore. It used to. 4 or 5 years ago, it used to. Now the lead headline under a big release is streams, Used to be what radio stations were playing it, and then sales. Now it's streams, sales, and radio stations. So anyway, the world is changing. According to the formula that Nielsen and Billboard use to compile charts, sales counts for more than a stream. A big seller can easily top a big streamer. With this calculations, Come Tomorrow was credited with the equivalent of 292,000 album sales. When they use the word equivalent, they mean how many tracks you purchase. So if I bought 3 singles off the album and you bought 7 singles off the album, that would technically be 1 album. So when they say album equivalent sales, that's essentially what they're counting. Since you don't have to anymore buy the whole album, you can literally pick and choose a la carte what songs you want. So Come Tomorrow, credited with 292,000 album sales, while Kids See Ghosts had 92 million streams, but sold just 79,000 copies of a full album, having only 142,000 album equivalent sales. Complicating the issue further is the fact that the Dave Matthews Band benefited from bundling the deal that included the album with the cost of a concert ticket. This, at one point, if you guys remember back in the early days of this move, and I don't really know who was the first one to do this, wasn't considered right. You couldn't do it. It wouldn't count towards your sales because technically you weren't spending money on the album. You were spending money on the ticket and getting the album. a sale had to take place of the album, so they weren't counting that in the early days. But now they do, because everybody does it. And by the way, I saw a bunch of comments from Dave Matthews Band fans on some of our stuff prior to that, and they were all like, well, the Dave Matthews Band doesn't have to do this, and the Dave Matthews Band doesn't have to do that. Look, Dave Matthews Band's still huge, but facts are facts. They would have 0 album sales if it wasn't for the album comes with the price of a ticket. It makes me sad to say that, but it's just the way the world is today. It's just nobody's buying these albums anymore. And the only way you can get them to do it is if you bundle the ticket with the album together. By the way, Pink does this, Arcade Fire, Bon Jovi, and it's not just the older artists. Shawn Mendes is doing this. Like, they're all trying to still push sales. Sales are still better than streaming for the artists. Beyonce and Jay-Z dropped a new album, but it wasn't released in time to get advance notice, so they weren't considered in this week that we're technically talking about. For the Dave Matthews Band, this is their 7th #1 album on the Billboard charts. So congratulations to them. But they still need to bundle things together in order to get those sales across. I would love to know what their sales would have been if they didn't bundle. I still think they would have been strong. Really, really strong. I just don't know if they would have been #1. And the thing that leaves you, the question that this all leaves us with is, where do we go with this? Because clearly the younger folks are streaming and not buying. So why are we going, like at what point does that measuring system switch over? You know, to the industry, buying, more important, more moolah. To people, who really cares? Because what the band reached in a week, Kanye is doing in a day. So clearly the argument can be made that his music is more popular. And then there is the other side of this too, which is like people, you know, you put your streaming on and you walk away, you're doing whatever, you're not really paying attention to it. I actually do buy into that quite a bit, because when you spend money on an album, you tend to spend a little bit more time with it. I know when I actually buy an LP, like a full vinyl, I spend more time concentrating on that music than I do if I get a CD or if I just stream an album. I really, really do. That holds true for me. So I think we're in this sort of weird gray area where it's like, what is more important? Like, what is a better ranking system, streaming or sales? Easier to get them streaming numbers because it's free, you know, harder to get those sales because you actually have to cough up for it. But we've seen those sales shrink, and, you know, where's that going to be even 2 years from now? I mean, I bet you the hardest core of a Dave Matthews Band fan couldn't even find a place to actually buy a physical album. I saw pictures, somebody sent me a picture of the Dave Matthews Band album Come Tomorrow in a rack at a record store, and it said Come Together. Now, I think, you know, people will right away assume, well, this was an error. I think they're just recycling the old Beatles thing just to save a little bit of money. Yeah, every penny counts these days in the record stores. So I don't know. The moral of the story, though, is streaming, album sales, radio listening hasn't been affected one bit, which really makes me happy as I continue to try and feed my children. The same people that were listening to radio in the 70s, the same amount are listening to radio today, and for that, we can all be grateful. So no matter where you stand on this issue, stand on my side in feeding my children.